Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Happy Tuesday. I know this is like I'm a broken record, but it is unbelievably cold
No,
here.
that's fair. That is a fair state. It is currently minus 15 outside without the wind chill, which is I think minus 27 or
Minus
something.
27 gabillion. Give me a break. What's going on? I hate this. I really hate this. Now, do you want to say what you always say? You're a born and bred North Dakotan.
I could say it's a dry cold because it actually is.
Yeah,
It
irrelevant.
doesn't matter.
I think I burned 2 calories yesterday just walking up and downstairs. It's the worst.
I,
All
I,
right.
I burn about 50 shivering, so there's that.
Yeah. If you're somewhere warm, please celebrate and enjoy it.
Yes,
Even if
actually,
it's cold where you are, like I talked to somebody in Florida yesterday, he said, oh, it's 60.
I
It's
think
kind
if
of
you're
chilly.
somewhere warm, I'd rather keep it to yourself, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's rough. It's a rough January, but that is not what we're on to talk about today. What are we talking about, Dr. Mary?
You found this very interesting article about a woman and a mother of three young children who, during the pandemic, decided to quit alcohol, but then decided it would be easier for her if she quit alcohol and started taking up cannabis.
So I just want to say before we get into this that I'm pretty judgy of this blog post from this woman. And I'm pretty judgy from a place of absolutely zero experience. So take my judgment for what it's worth, which is not very much because I don't have anything to back it up. But I was shocked by this article, and I'm curious to know if you have thoughts on it too. So do you want me to sum up the article quick?
Yes,
Okay.
you do it, and then
So this woman is, I forget where she's from. She's South American, Central or South American, has been in America for 12 years, is a journalist, has 3 children under the age of 4, a toddler and twin children, babies. And she managed the stress of her life with alcohol. She would come home from work after a stressful day and have, I don't know how much alcohol. Well, then she realized when the pandemic hit and she and her husband were at home with these 3 babies, which admittedly sounds terrible. I don't care how much you love your children. 3 children under the age of 4 sounds overwhelming. She realized that when she got up in the morning, even if she'd only had a drink, she was short-tempered, she was groggy, she was crusty to her children, all those kinds of things, which nobody wants to be. So she shifted. She stopped drinking cold turkey because I don't think she had a drinking problem. I think she just felt like
No, she
alcohol
actually
wasn't.
said she was alarmed by how much drinking that was going on when they put the kids to bed
during COVID. So, I mean, there are many, many people. I have this conversation on a regular basis. People will go out for coffee with me, and I'll think that we're going to be talking about, for instance, their donation to the Arts Partnership, and we'll do that. And then they will shift into, I'm concerned how much I'm drinking. We've become a safe place for people to sort of lob that statement and then see what we will respond with. And just for the record, we don't ever respond with, oh my gosh, you've got to get to treatment. We're not therapists. We can't diagnose, but we will listen. Okay. So she's concerned. She stops cold turkey. She starts vaping.
Yeah.
And
so she did say she
gummies.
smoked weed. She did vape. She ate THC gummies and took CBD drops.
So a lot of, and she lives in a state where all of this is legal.
Yes, and she did say it helped her pause to take a deep breath. Now, I don't judge that. I try not to judge, and I specifically would never judge anyone's issue with any form of addiction whatsoever. But it is a kind of, you know what? There's too much conflicting information about this.
Say more about that.
And it's not even made up science or bad science. It's not even the whole hoo-ha about the pandemic and vaccinations. It's not even that. It's just
the whole hoo-ha.
There's a lot of independent studies that go on, and these are actually valid scientific terms. And the thing about science is someone does a study, someone looks at that study and says, I don't think that's right. So they make a whole hypothesis and do a lot of experiments, and they try and prove them wrong. Sometimes they prove that person right, and that's great because that's how this whole thing works. But sometimes they find conflicting information, and then without further study, they publish something, this person published something, of course, people read them both. And if you're more inclined to believe this, you think, well, I don't like that one. And then it just goes on like that. So I try to...
Can anyone say COVID vaccine efficacy?
I looked into this as I took 15 minutes this morning. You're
not a marijuana researcher.
No.
Let's just be clear.
So I found this article about, now I also don't know anything about hockey.
There is a point.
When I was a kid, we played hockey in my high school, but it was field hockey.
Yeah, because you don't have ice.
No.
Dr. Mary, who cares about the hockey?
Anyway, so this guy, he was the Stanley Cup. Apparently, that's got something to do with hockey too.
It is the World Series of hockey. I do know
his
that
team
much.
won this thing 4 times. And then he quit hockey. He gained a load of weight and he became a chronic alcoholic. And then he beat alcoholism by becoming, a dope head.
A pothead.
Really.
Yeah.
And that's basically, he even says that in his article.
Yeah.
Now, so I try to find very quickly as much independent research and things that actually had scientific references about, is marijuana a good thing to do if you're trying to get rid of another addiction? It isn't that addictive to everyone. In fact, it's less addictive than alcohol.
Yes.
And I actually found 4 or 5 references, one of which actually stated, we set out to prove this wrong. And it is less addictive than alcohol.
Although, isn't there some thought that it is emotionally addictive? It's not physically addictive like alcohol.
No.
But you do develop a dependency on it or a comfort around it, like a blankie.
It is. It's the effect it has on your it's supposed to be called the ventral tangential region or your pleasure center. Alcohol makes you feel brave and relaxed. Marijuana makes you feel comfortable and relaxed.
Okay, so let's just stop for a second. I want to know what anybody thinks. Alcohol makes you feel brave and relaxed. Marijuana makes you feel comfortable and relaxed. I've never smoked marijuana, never taken a gummy, never eaten brownies. I have zero experience. I mean, I can count on all my fingers and toes just about how many times I've taken an aspirin. So I'm a bad person to have this conversation from an experiential standpoint. But this idea of alcohol making you feel brave, is that what it did for you initially?
Made me feel brave, as in more self-confident.
Okay.
It never made me violent. I mean, there was a huge...
That is so true.
Loads of studies on, you can get angry drunks. There's never been any instance reported of an angry pothead.
That's true.
Never.
So calm. Okay. All right. All right. Keep going. I'm sorry.
I just found, there are some short-term and long-term effects. Yes. I mean,
to what?
Marijuana use.
Okay.
And without a doubt, I personally think it should be given to cancer patients because it actually makes you hungry. It actually also is great at numbing pain. Mm-hmm. So I'm up for medical marijuana.
And it's also got an epileptic
Yes, it helps with epilepsy.
Right?
Helps with anxiety, helps with paranoia.
Okay, but so this is really a question and answer session for Dr. Mary, who's actually not much of an expert, but because he has a PhD in sciencey stuff, he's more expert than certainly I am, and then many of our listening audience.
Why aren't any of the local TV networks picking me up just for that? Weird Thoughts with Dr. Maz. It could be a 9:30 special every morning.
Anyway, it helps with anxiety. So what's the one thing that we know is true of the Gen Zers for your ilk, millennials, even Gen Xers, and certainly other generations too, but Gen Z and millennials in particular, anxiety is through the roof. I could not believe when I taught a year and a half ago, I could not believe how many of my students were on anti-anxiety medication. And interestingly, how many of them just talked about it the way you would say, yeah, I take a Flintstones multivitamin. Oh, I take anti-anxiety medication. So my question is, if it helps with anxiety, then that becomes problematic because so many people are diagnosed with anxiety or believe they have anxiety. And so they're self-medicating through marijuana.
Yeah.
Back to you.
See, the problem with that is, and there was quite a few. I mean, there was an article in the Lancet, which is, the Lancet is the premier
Top of the heap.
British medical journal, and I don't believe they have a sense of humor over at the Lancet, so they don't make stuff up for a laugh. So they brought out this paper that said it helps reduce anxiety, and then I found 4 or 5 references to papers. One of them, which is in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in America, which is probably beyond the Lancet, that said it's been shown to increase anxiety. So that's one of the problems I was talking about a few minutes ago. So,
can I put up a quote from John?
Yeah.
Or a thought from John?
Yes. My gosh, if we have a listener who's got a quote, bring it up.
Personal opinion.
Oh, John, I was hoping it was you. Hello.
Good morning, John. I never find it good to exchange one addiction for another. I guess I don't actually have to read this to you because you can all see this, but I'm going to anyway. And if you change an addiction to something else, it should be something that is healthy. Not sure that long-term use of any chemical is a good thing. Boy, are you speaking my language, John. Many may be thinking about getting exercise to induce better feelings of calm and relaxation. Totally agree, although hard to do with 3 kids under 4. I think we spend too much time on electronics, the ultimate cause of anxiety, and go through a process of physical activity. Yes, I would agree with a lot of that, John.
No, I also found some very interesting information. One of the big things is, it's smoking, you're going to get lung cancer, which is what I actually said today, about an hour ago. Mm-hmm. So I looked into it. Yes, the studies on people that smoke marijuana in unfiltered cigarettes do have the potential to develop lung cancer, because smoking tobacco with all the crap in it does give you lung cancer. But that
assumes that the marijuana you're getting is pure.
Yeah. And the people who vape or chew the gummies don't have that problem. So that there isn't a study that actually says, all right, we'll just use gummies and we'll get rid of the naysayers that say you're going to get lung cancer instead, and just do that. There needs to be a study on that, I think. And this is just from my 15-minute search. So
no one is saying you are claiming to be an expert.
Now, here's the thing.
Hold one more thought. Is marijuana addictive? Said the mother of the woman who doesn't take aspirin because she was raised that way. Yes. Mother, you might have come in just a little bit late. There is no study that says it is physically addictive, correct?
There is and there isn't. I mean, the fact that it makes you feel better, and if you continue to use it, that in itself, by definition, is an addiction. But is it a chronic, I can't cope without it definition? Like it's different than being a heroin addict, and it's different than being an alcoholic.
Would you say it's on par with drinking tea?
No.
Okay. So the short answer is no one knows.
So, of course, it does help with weight loss. And there was this long-term study.
Marijuana?
Yeah.
I thought marijuana made you chubby because you eat snackies.
But here's the thing. It seems, and again, not a dietitian, there was these 2 references I saw that talk about the fact that in America, there is a marked increase in people who actually take marijuana, and even though they snack, their body gets their body's metabolism reinserts itself to actually burn fatty foods, starchy foods and processed sugar more quickly. So you actually get a lower body mass index, and it does reduce blood pressure that way.
Okay, so I'm sorry to jump into this, but can we go back quickly to the original article about the woman who shifted from drinking
hang on, I have this
to
here.
marijuana? I agree with John completely. I think we've said this a lot on this show. Alcohol is the foundation of Daily Dose because it's the addiction that visited our house. It's the substance that visited our house. But an addiction is an addiction is an addiction. So to say, well, I don't drink, I just smoke pot or eat gummies or take whatever.
Yeah.
You haven't dealt with the root of your problem, which is that you are relying on something outside of your own ability to manage your life. And it might not be ruining your life, but I think that's problematic.
I don't know. I'm not going to be a fence sitter on this one. I would never want to change. Personally, I wouldn't want to change one addiction for another. Now, if it's actually helping this person, I'm not.
Yep.
If they're getting on better, they think they're a better parent, and actually maybe they are a better parent, and I don't. Good on you.
Yep. Absolutely. This isn't about her. It's about the conversation.
And if that works for you, fair enough. I just, if you wanted to hold me down by the foot and tickle it and
just could
get
you
a
say
real
your point,
answer,
Dr. Mary?
I wouldn't be happy doing that
Yeah.
myself. I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, to me, it would be swapping one addiction for another. But then, remember, this is coming from an alcoholic.
Well, I don't know. It really struck me interestingly. And I guess the last thing that I thought about it is just this idea that we've so normalized alcoholism and we're on the road to normalizing marijuana. And I don't really have an opinion on that because, again, most people can recreationally smoke or do marijuana however they choose to. And it's fine for them. I don't want to do it, but that doesn't mean it's bad. But there's all of this unknown about it. There's all of this dangerous known about it. And these are the things that we're choosing to normalize while we villainize the people who struggle with it. I think that is ultimately the real problem here, is when you normalize something that can become so catastrophically problematic for so many people, and then you blame them for the problem. That feels like a very complicated environment to be successful in.
And just to bring in just a tad of science in this, and again,
stop prefacing. We're already past our time.
The Center of Disease Control has suggested, and they've made a statement based on studies, that 1 in 10 marijuana users will become addicted to marijuana. Now, 1 in 6 people who consume alcohol become addicted to alcohol. So,
who begin using before age 18?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I looked at that wrong. 1 in 6 people who use marijuana before 18 will become addicted.
Yeah. But that's 1 in 6 people who drink alcohol become addicted to alcohol, full stop, no matter what their age.
So I've not seen any place that says will become addicted around the conversation with marijuana. And Center for Disease Control seems to have some semblance of knowledge, despite the current controversy they're in, again, around COVID vaccines. So it's just an interesting conversation. I hope you will join us on Thursday. We are having a conversation with a woman I talked to last week who was so unbelievably interesting. She has worked in almost every facet of addiction, from hospitals to jails to treatment centers to you name it. She has worked it. She's had a long career. It was incredibly interesting. And she's going to bring that conversation to us and you on Thursday. So tune in then. Thanks for joining us today. Share the content if you liked it. Continue to comment, and we'll see you on Thursday. Have a great day. Stay warm if at all possible.
Bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.